So I'm just sitting here having some fun with Zone, and I figured why not put the recorder on. This isn't a tutorial or anything. I'm just kind of playing here with some pretty cool stuff and just recording it because it's fun to do that. And so in Zone we have these opponents, these little squid guys right here that basically so far they've just floated there. They just float and they just sit there. They kind of pulse a little bit. They've got an animation, but they don't move at all. So you're just kind of shooting fish in a barrel kind of a thing. So I wanted to make that a little more interesting. So I worked on a little script here that would make them move. It's called a squid mover. And so this shows a little bit about the way that we do things in Zone, where everything runs at a tempo. There's a BPM, a beats per minute of the track that's currently playing, and I want things to happen on the beat or on multiples of the beat in general, in many cases. And so I have these sets of scripts that listen to something called the metronome. And the metronome is a script that sits here on the top of the game and basically figures out the BPM that we're at, and then what it does is it fires off events that can be attached to that are the on-beat event. So basically, every time there's a beat, we can make something happen with this. And then I have another script that's a metronome listener that can be attached and can be subclassed and attached to objects in Zone to make them do things on the beat or on some multiple of the beat, like every other beat, something like that. So, for instance, if I want to make something pulse on the beat here, I can just use a tweening library to make something pulse, and it will pulse every time there's a beat. So what I made tonight is something called the squid mover. And so I gave the squids rigid bodies, and then what I did is I figured every time that there's a beat, what I want to do is I want to pick a random direction, and I want to apply a force in that direction to make it to sort of swim in that direction. You think of sometimes jellyfish kind of move like this. There's sort of a pulsing, moving left and right, like they're constantly making decisions, and they do it and then they pause and then they do it again and they pause. So I thought I could do this, and that worked all right. But then I realized what I would rather do, or what I would do further, is make it so that it's not random every single time, but that it's more of a movement and then a rebounding movement back. So I set this thing here, I set up this little code here that picks a direction and moves, and then next time it'll move you back. It'll apply the reverse force, so that way things don't get too far off center. And so then we just add that force to the squids, and I've just been playing around with their rigid body properties to get them to move well. And now if I turn this on, squid mover, because remember before what we saw here is they just float. You can see up in the top they float, and you can see in the game view just floating there. But if I put squid mover on, look how much more interesting this is already. Oh, now they're picking directions and they're moving all different directions. Look at that. How cool is that? Now, it doesn't account for collisions, and there's things that can happen that are weird. I have to put in some clauses for what happens also if they get too far away. I've got to keep them kind of generally coming in here. I actually already began to do that, where in the script, if they're on the left side of the world, if the X is less than 1, I push them to the right direction, and if they're on the right side of the world, I push them in the left direction. That way I don't push something off the screen when it's close to the edge of the world already. So now I'm thinking that I can very easily add this kind of behavior to other things. And so the next kind of opponent we have is these gravity mines. And early on I had this idea that gravity mines would be just that, mines, and that they would try to hit you, and that you'd be incentivized to shoot them before they blow up on you. So what I'm figuring here is I can add a very similar script to the gravity mines that manifests that behavior. Okay, I am back. I paused it because I had to go to dinner and I had to figure out what I needed to do. I figured it out. So I've got the gravity mines moving now toward the player, toward the craft, kind of like the jellyfish pulse in a random direction. These now pulse toward the craft, and the result is really cool. Now they're actually kind of coming at you. And so there's incentive to get them quick. And these guys are way more fun now. So now there's actually even a reason to go up here, because sometimes these guys come up this far. So you can pick them up before they get away. And now these things kind of sneak out at you sometimes because they'll be behind one of these poles, and there they are. And it makes it way more fun to fly through. Much more dynamic. Yeah, and there's a rhythm to it because see, they're moving only on the beat. You see that? So everything pulses on the beat. Or every other beat. And so these are definitely kind of, see, they're coming towards us now. Oh yeah. Now that's fun. That's gameplay right there. Just more behaviors, primitive behaviors, stacking. That is really, really cool. They move a lot like real jellyfish. Oh, now look, some of the cubes came in from the other level, crossed over, I think. Somehow we got both of them. Yeah, because I think they're being pulled from the segments down the road. Oh yeah, oh, this is hard. We're gonna make this thing. But it's looking good, I think. It is. Let's see how fast we get going. Yeah, this is good. This is really good. So there you have it. Just adding some dynamic behavior to these characters, these little opponents, right here just made this way, way, way better. So some of them are trying to figure that out. And so there we go. Now these are coming right at me now. See that? That's so cool. Makes me more the center of the action. Alright, cool. Well, that's all for right now.